Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top stories this hour. US President Donald Trump is heading to Israel on Sunday amidst a truce and major hostage exchange deal he helped broker. He's expected to visit Jerusalem and may address the Knesset as part of the historic ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Meanwhile, later today, aid trucks will start trickling into Gaza. As the United States government shutdown enters the 11th day, the White House has begun laying off thousands of federal workers across several agencies. Over 4,000 Fed workers have been sent layoff notices. US President Trump says the job cuts will be Democrat-oriented. Meanwhile, union leaders warn Trump's move could have devastating effects on services relied upon by millions of Americans. President Donald Trump has announced he will impose a sweeping 100% tariff on all imports from China effective November 1st. Trump's move comes in direct retaliation to what the White House calls Beijing's hostile restrictions on the export of rare earth minerals, while China is hit back with billions in port fees for US ships docking in China. Massive explosion levels Tennessee military explosives plant, while at least 19 people are unaccounted for. Many are feared dead. Federal and local agencies are on the scene, but the cause of the devastating explosion remains under investigation. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky makes a striking comparison between Hamas and Kremlin, says Hamas has stopped fighting but not Kremlin and Putin. Further adding to this, he has said that Russia must be stopped by force now. This comes amidst the raging war between the two countries. Pakistani Taliban has claimed responsibility for deadly attacks in several northwestern districts that killed several security officials and a few civilians. As per reports, the attacks reportedly include a suicide bombing on a police training school. The attacks come hours after Afghanistan's Taliban government accused Pak of violating Kabul's sovereign territory. Macron reappoints Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu just days after his resignation. The unexpected reappointment is seen as a high-stakes bid to end a political deadlock in France. Lecornu is now tasked with the urgent mission of forming a new cabinet and delivering a critical national budget by the end of the year. Floods across Mexico turned tragic. At least 28 people have been killed and a trail of destruction left behind. There are also several people who are unaccounted for. Mexican President Sheinbaum has said that the government is working towards supporting the population and reopening roads. According to an Israeli prison, Israel has begun moving prisoners ahead of a potential exchange deal with Gaza. Meanwhile, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and CENTCOM Chief Admiral Brad Cooper visited an Israeli army post in Gaza. Their visit aims to confirm the completion of the IDF's pullout, which is part of the ceasefire deal with Hamas. Admiral Cooper also reaffirmed that no U.S. troops will be deployed to Gaza, emphasizing the establishment of a CENTCOM-led civil military coordinating center to support post-conflict stabilization. Palestinian factions like PFLP, Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Hamas have strongly rejected any foreign governance over Gaza. In a joint statement, they asserted that Gaza's future governance remains an internal Palestinian matter, signaling ongoing efforts to unify Palestinian leadership and rebuild institutions. This comes as thousands of displaced Palestinians return to Gaza. Martin Saar-Erez, Foreign Affairs expert, joins us live from Germany. Martin, thanks for being with us today on NewsX World. What do you make of this news coming in that prisoner exchanges are on track and, of course, also all eyes on the reaffirmment and re-establishment of a Palestinian Authority for Gaza too?
Yes, actually, this issue is going to be a very crucial issue in the next days because, in one side, Israel and Trump does not want Hamas to control the Gaza Strip. They want to make sure that Hamas has absolutely it's not going to be part of the new government of Gaza. They want to put in Gaza an international body that controls the Gaza Strip, because the world would have been worthless if Hamas comes back to power. I understand the international concern about Palestinian self-determination. However, right now, the most important thing is that nothing like the 7th of October happens again. And I think Israel and the international community needs to make sure that Hamas is going to be absolutely disarmed.
Absolutely. Also, Martin, as far as, of course, the visit by Witkoff and the general is concerned, do you believe this is also a good sign, showing that pullout is on track as well by the IDF?
Of course, it shows a good compromise from Israel to get the IDF out of Gaza. I think this is one of the agreements that Trump made clear that the IDF will be completely out of Gaza by 72 hours. And in contrast, the Gaza Strip needs to be controlled by a peaceful authority. Now, the huge question is which authority is going to be the one who rules Gaza? The international community, the Palestinian Authority, but nevertheless, it's absolutely sure that Hamas will never, or the Islamic Jihad will never have the power again.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, we're turning now to more news as well coming in. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has congratulated US President Donald Trump on brokering the Gaza peace deal and said that if one war can be stopped, then surely the Russian war can end too. In a post on X, Zelensky called the phone conversation positive and productive, adding that he briefed Trump on Russia's latest attacks on Kyiv's energy system. He also said that both sides discussed new ways to strengthen Ukraine's air defenses with what he described as solid ideas and concrete cooperation. Zelensky emphasized that real diplomacy with Moscow can only begin through strength. Martin Saarez, a foreign affairs expert, is joining us live. Martin, what do you make of this latest statement by the Ukrainian president?
I think the Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, wants to approach Trump because he knows he has no other closer ally. And of course, he's also trying to get his air defense stronger with American support. Also, it's pretty well known that Russia tried to bomb the electrical sources from Ukraine last week. So this is a very tense situation, and I think right now the relationship between the US and Ukraine is getting stronger. We know that in the past there has been a lot of struggles between these two parties, but now I think they're working together for a common purpose. And I think we will see a strengthening of the Ukrainian army in the next months because it's of the American interest and the Ukrainian interest.
Right, Martin, but you know, a deal, of course, vis-a-vis Russia, Ukraine is not as easy as the Gaza conflict, is it? With this peace and ceasefire finally in the Gaza region, do you see any peace in the short term vis-a-vis Russia and Ukraine?
I think the Ukrainian-Russian conflict is an absolutely different conflict because in this issue, Trump has good relations with both parties, even though Russia has been the historical counter country of the US. The Trump administration has been very open to discussion with Vladimir Putin. And I think in this situation, Trump is going to try to get into a middle point where both parties can feel that they're not losing a lot and they can get to an agreement. The opposite with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, that the conflict was between a terror organization and a country. So obviously, Trump obviously was biased towards Israel, not only because allyship, but also because Hamas has no authority or is not a legitimate force. In this case, Russia is a legitimate country. The Putin government is legitimate, and also the Zelensky government. So it's a completely different situation, and I think Trump is going to try to balance these two parties and to try to get to a solution that both parties can feel that they achieved what they wanted.
Right. In fact, in other news coming in, Martin, we leave it at that. Thank you for joining us. France's political turmoil has deepened as President Macron has reappointed Sébastien Lecornu as Prime Minister. Just 4 days after his resignation, Lecornu, one of Macron's closest allies, has been tasked with forming a new government that reflects a divided National Assembly but avoids partisan paralysis. Well, let's in fact listen in to what the French Prime Minister had to say.
Il faut un gouvernement qui corresponde aussi à la réalité parlementaire. C'est indispensable, c'est une démocratie. Et c'est le moment le plus parlementaire de la Ve République. Enfin, il faut aussi que ce soit désormais un gouvernement qui ne soit pas complètement prisonnier de certains appétits partisans. Vous savez, quand j'ai démissionné lundi, j'ai dit que les conditions n'étaient plus remplies. On ne peut pas être Premier ministre quand les conditions ne sont pas remplies. Ça n'a pas changé. Hein. C'est-à-dire que je le dis avec gravité, j'ai été renommé Premier ministre, mais il faut que les conditions continuent à être remplies. Il se trouve que l'urgence à avoir des textes économiques et financiers, à devoir les présenter dans les temps, à traiter du sujet aussi et des urgences liées à la Nouvelle-Calédonie, la difficulté aussi, je crois, de la mission. Je n'ai pas le sentiment qu'il y avait beaucoup de candidats, pour être complètement transparent. Et donc, moi, je vais vous dire, je l'ai dit aux Françaises et aux Français à la télévision cette semaine, je n'ai pas d'agenda. J'ai pas d'autre ambition que de se sortir de ce moment qui est objectivement très petit.
But the task ahead looks daunting. The president lacks a majority in parliament and opposition parties on both the far right and left have already threatened a no-confidence vote. Macron's approval rating has hit a record low of 14%, raising doubts over how long his fragile government can hold. Keith Vaz, former UK minister, is joining us live from London. Keith, what do you make of this move by the French president to reappoint Lecornu?
Uday, good afternoon. It is very unusual to have this level of uncertainty and confusion about who is running the French government. Obviously, under their system, the Fifth Republic Constitution, the president has the ultimate power, but he has to have a prime minister who has a working majority in the assembly. And this is actually what he's not got. So what we're being told is the present prime minister, who he has reappointed, is only there to get the coalition together. And after that happens, a new prime minister will come into office. So this is very much a stopgap solution. That is why I think it's in everyone's interests that there is a degree of stability that at the moment is not there.
Yes. Now, Keith, of course, the task is cut out for the French government. How easy is it going to be for him to form this interim dispensation?
It's going to be pretty difficult because he does not have a majority in the Assemblée Nationale. The Conservatives, led by Marine Le Pen, the Socialists, the Communists, they have a majority. So there will have to be a deal. And the price that he has to pay for the left is to bin his pension deal. He wanted to have a raid on pensions. This is not going to happen if the left are going to support them. And it's more likely that Macron will actually look in that direction. I don't think he's going to form a coalition with Marine Le Pen. It's just not going to happen. So we have to watch this space. The negotiations start. But we need a stable France because it's the key driver, along with the Germans, of the European Union. And Macron is a world statesman. So this needs to be addressed and dealt with as quickly as possible.
Appreciate you joining us, Keith Vaz, with your perspective. The White House has begun laying off thousands of federal government employees as the U.S. shutdown stretches into its 10th day. Officials blame the budget deadlock in Congress for forcing departments to start workforce cuts. Layoffs are reportedly underway across several key agencies, including the Treasury, Education, Commerce and Health departments, as well as the IRS and Homeland Security's Cybersecurity Division. The U.S. Department of Education has confirmed on Friday that it has begun issuing layoff notices, though the full scale of the job cuts remains unclear. This marks one of the most significant waves of federal job losses in years, underscoring the deepening fallout of Washington's budget impasse, with no signs yet of a political breakthrough. Joining us live is Raymond Vickery, international affairs expert. He's live from Washington, D.C. with us. Raymond, welcome to NewsX World. What do you believe are going to be the impact of these job cuts?
Well, thanks for having me, Uday. It seems to me that what is going on here is that the Trump administration is using the shutdown as an excuse to do what it planned to do all along. That is to destroy the parts of the federal government which it does not like. It has gone in and laid off people in the Department of Education. It has tried to strike down anything that has to do with racial equality. We are in a constitutional crisis here in the United States. A lot of the attention has been given to what's been going on internationally. But make no mistake about it, the United States cannot play a leadership role unless it has a stable democracy at home. And the Trump administration in this latest layoff is showing disregard for the laws of and it has
Lord Ranger gone
for the courts as well.
Raymond, how long more do you believe the shutdown is going to last?
Well, I think it's going to go on for a couple of more weeks at least. It seems to me that the political process of trying to protect the health benefits of the American people, which basically the way in which the Democrats are fostering this, is going to be played out over not just a matter of hours or days, but it seems to me that it will require weeks in order for that political process to play out. One hopes that we'll return to a constitutional order in the United States. We look for help from other democracies, whether they be India and Western Europe, the United Kingdom, Japan, Australia, in this hour of need to be able to provide support for democratic norms which have kept the peace and built prosperity since World War II.
Raymond Vickery, appreciate you joining us with your perspective on that story. Now, clashes between police and protesters have erupted once again in Madagascar's capital of Antananarivo, just a day after newly appointed Prime Minister General Rufin Fortunat Zafesambo condemned the excessive use of force by both sides. Demonstrators continued to block streets and throw stones at security forces, who responded with volleys of tear gas. The unrest, now in its fourth week, has left at least 22 people dead. According to UN figures, what began as protests over water and electricity shortages has escalated into wider demands for political change, with many calling for the resignation of President Andry Rajoelina. Despite appeals for restraint from the United Nations and local authorities, violence continues to intensify. And that's all we have for the time for today. We will continue to bring you more updates from around the world. Stay tuned.